So, good morning. Welcome to the first episode of the Revitalized, the Refreshed, the Improved, the new P&L Principles and Leadership in Business. I'm Paul. I'm host of the new P&L podcast, and I'm really grateful you've taken the time to join us again in 2026. As regular listeners and supporters will know, over the last 12 to 18 months, the foot came off the gas a little bit when it came to new episodes of the new P&L. We had some incredible guests in 2025, but due to a multiplicity of other commitments, particularly the keynote speaking I was doing, the episodes waned, and towards the end of last year, they stopped altogether. But we're back with our first new episode today, February the 26th of 2026. And over the next 12 months, we're going to be running one episode every 2 weeks. And there'll be a mix of, as there were in the past, interviews with some of the great, incredible guests from across the global business community, some of the new P&L to the points, our 10-minute detailed analysis of topics, and some very special one-off and mini-series episodes, which again we'll reveal over the coming months as well. And just before I get fully into this first episode introducing the themes and the concepts for the new P&L series this year, I want to mention that we are looking for corporate sponsors for the new P&L podcast series this time around. There is a huge effort that goes into producing a podcast series of this caliber, from the research to the production and the marketing. So if you or your organization want to align itself with a global podcast series, one that sits well inside the top 5% of podcasts globally and has been listened to by tens of thousands of business leaders, executives, entrepreneurs, business owners, and employees in over 110 countries and counting, then please do get in touch. You'll find some links to connect with me in the notes that accompany the podcast, so feel free to connect and let's chat. All right, so I guess the first point I want to make in this relaunch introduction episode of the new series is that not having released a new podcast episode for a few months has given me time to think and reflect on the first 260 plus episodes of the podcast over the last 5 years. The people we spoke to, the directions we took, the topics we covered, and the principles and the values and purpose, as you would expect, that underpins this podcast. And we've done amazing things over the first 5 years of the podcast. We've converted an idea into a global business podcast, a top 5% podcast. Out of the 4.5 million podcasts that now exist out there, we're in the top 5%. We've had a real impact on listeners, judging by the feedback I've received. And it makes me feel proud and thankful that as a team we've contributed to the transformation in the way people deliver business, the way they think about their organizations and what they deliver as a result. And it also makes me really, really proud of what our team has delivered over the last few years more broadly. However, what I've realized over the last 6 to 7 months, and what has increasingly dominated my thoughts, is how moving forward we make this even more relevant for the next 260 episodes of this podcast. Because I fully intend to continue this for as long as it takes and as long as I can with a revitalized, fresh, and innovative approach. So for those who have followed me reasonably closely over the last few years, you'll know that I've been talking both on this podcast but also in my keynotes and workshops about how we prepare ourselves, our teams, and our businesses for the age of AI. This is a period of massive transformational change, and it's a big, big job to prepare and transform leadership and culture for this. And I firmly believe that without leadership and cultural transformation, the technology transformation that we need can never be as strategic, systemic, or ultimately successful as it should be. But the more I've thought about this in relation to our podcast over the last few months, the more an equally critical point has dominated my thinking. Because there is huge noise around AI and all that it may or may not offer to us individually, societally, and professionally. But it's not the only noise out there. We are overwhelmed by noise and negativity at the moment. It feels like everywhere we turn and everything we listen to or see is sounding the end of our jobs or the end of the global order or even the end of the world. And AI is coming for your job, or the world is changing, or the economy is falling apart, or society is collapsing. We hear this everywhere. Whatever it happens to be, there just seems to be an enormous amount of noise, and people are exhausted. I see it in my friendship groups, I see it in the people I speak to in business, the conversations I have when I deliver my keynotes. But beneath the noise, there are so many great things going on, incredible innovations, phenomenal businesses, and really principled leaders. Great people doing great things for great reasons. The incredible innovations that are transforming industries or transforming our lives. And there are millions of us out there doing these things, these great things, these incredible things. And we all need to hear from each other. So while this podcast will still be underpinned by our core values of a new P&L for business, one based on principles and leadership, this year we're going to extend this concept even further and focus only on the positive things and the positive people that are positively changing the world. We will, of course, still focus on how purpose needs to sit at the heart of our organizations, particularly in this fast-paced transformational world driven by AI. We will still focus on how we build our cultures and develop our leaders and what those purpose and principles and values are that should underpin them. But in our own small way, we are also going to act as a counterweight to all of the negativity and noise. Because ultimately, what we want to try and give is something that seems in very short supply at the moment: hope. So we'll still talk about people in leadership. We will still talk about purpose, as I say. We will still talk about culture. We will still talk about people and how they adapt and adopt in the world of rapid transformation driven by AI. But most of all, we will focus on positive stories that give people, employees, leaders, all of those in business, hope. And we will, of course, explore the challenges and the problems and the issues that exist within our organizations, because we can't deny those. But we're going to focus on what the positive solutions are, those things that give us hope, where we find those great innovations. That's going to be the essence that will drive this podcast and drive us and motivate us over the next 12 months. So I hope you will continue to join us, to listen and to re-engage with the new P&L podcast. Because I think that's the responsibility that we have as a content creator here at the new P&L podcast, as someone who's trying to change the way we do business. Someone who's trying to create a global movement around a new P&L, a momentum towards a better business, more positive, more powerful business in a good sense. So we'll start on this 2026 journey of positivity, hope, principles, and leadership with our first guest interview to be published in 2 weeks' time. And we're going to reveal who that first guest will be in the coming days. So I hope you will join us over the next 12 months in celebrating and believing in better. That we can do better, that there is better, and that if we just look a little harder, which we probably have to do right now to find it, we will find it. Okay, so just to wind up the first launch episode of the new P&L podcast. For any of those decision makers listening who may be in a position to support the new P&L commercially, please do reach out using the links in the notes. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to discuss possible sponsorship. If you want to align your brand with a podcast that is looking to drive in their own small way hope, positivity, principles, and leadership back into the business narrative, into that conversation, then speak to me. The contact details are in the notes that accompany the podcast. Subscribe to the podcast, check out the website, and if you're interested in learning more, then as I say, just reach out. So we're back. The new P&L is back. It's exciting, it's positive, and it's hopeful. Principles, purpose, positivity, and hope. That's our focus for this year. I wish you all the best for the coming week, and I'm really looking forward to speaking to you again in 2 weeks with our fabulous first guest. Until then, I'm Paul, host of the Revitalized, the new P&L Principles and Leadership in Business podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and have a great week.